If you are an executive or want to be one or an entrepreneur running a team, this is for you. It is never too early to get high level leadership skills to any job, any place in your life that you want and face anything. So if that's you, stay tuned to find out how, because my guest is going to be sharing all about that. Welcome, everybody, to this wonderful episode where my guest, who is a executive and leadership strategy coach who works with directors, senior vice presidents, executives get ahead by hitting strategic targets in less time. Her name is Niha Wunnava, and she will be sharing a blueprint to help you elevate your leadership. But before I bring her on, my name is Sri and I'm a video marketing producer. My team and I love working with medical professionals and law firms to help them elevate their brand awareness using social media, live streaming, video. So I know you guys don't want to hear about that. You want to learn about leadership. Let me bring my wonderful guest, Niha. And by the way, guys, she's my cousin. So if you have any questions not related to me, maybe you can ask them in the comments. So Niha, I mean, I know a lot about you, but what is something that many folks don't know about you?
I will always be the first one on the dance floor, even if I'm the only one that's going to be on there for a while. And I use a lot of the mentality from the dance floor in my work as a
How is
leader,
that?
leaders, because when we get in our zone of genius and when we let go of our inhibitions, when we are really using our innate drive, desire, and energy to bring our thoughts, back them up, really get into flow, magic happens. We attract other people are watching, people lean in and they join you. And so it's really funny, but that's the truth.
I want to give a shout out to Mark. He actually sent me a message. Happy New Year to you. And I will give you a shout out. I mean, a message back. But I wanted to say that I love that idea of finding what gets you into that zone of genius, especially when you're starting to do something that's new, uncomfortable. But sometimes we forget that. Like for me, for example, it's cold calling. And I don't know why I am afraid of cold calling, but I can relate that to even anybody who's getting on camera for the first time.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's all of these thoughts that come into your mind, but what can you do to get you front and center, ready to go? And so, well, how do you work with your clients and helping them discover their zone of genius?
So, one of the things that you're talking about is the human reaction to when eyes are on us. And so, what happens is most of us don't realize that it's a trajectory, it's an evolution for most people. And so, you mentioned people getting on video. I often deal with leaders that are going to be getting funding, getting investments. They are talking to CEOs, public speaking. They are about to make a big presentation to the board and they feel like there's a lot weighing on it. So, one of the major things I do with my clients right when we start is probably very similar to what you do. We make sure that they really understand what their unique strengths are that they bring to the table. So, this is going to be the triumvirate of your expertise, your education, and just what you're really, really passionate about. And when you bring those kind of three things together, it forms a platform for what is really going to resonate with other people because you are going to move into your authority. You're going to be much less worried about who's watching you, and you're going to be more concerned about your message, about changing people's lives, about making sure that you are getting the funding, that you're conveying your company's values, your strategy, your foundation, where you're headed. And people cannot help but join your mission. They cannot help but lean into your orbit and your aura. And that is how you start building a really strong movement towards what's important to you. So that's usually the first step.
So if you're still trying to figure out what is the first step, just tell Niha, message her, tell her that you saw her on this podcast, and then she will walk you through that. Now, for some folks that are watching, whether they are, maybe they are working a 9 to 5, or maybe they are at home, but they don't see themselves as a leader. I know this is very common for some, for many actually, not some. How do you help somebody identify that they are a leader?
So this is what it boils down to. We are all leaders, particularly when we are grown. And if we are making our own decisions, every single day that you're making a decision, that you are choosing something, you are executing leadership. And so if you are in a 9 to 5, what you want to do, particularly if you're ever thinking about transitioning, is you want to think about the most impact that you can make right where you are. A lot of times people think, well, I'll cultivate that skill or I'll need that skill somewhere else. And they don't think about how much impact or how much change if they just started focusing right where they are and started having better, higher quality conversations with their leaders, with their direct reports, with the people around them. Even if you are an independent contributor, when you view yourself as a leader, you will start to speak more clearly. You will start to engage other people and help them help you get things done. So it becomes a team effort. And I really reinforce, particularly for women and for underrepresented people, that you should all think about yourself as a leader and start to really cultivate that identity within yourself. And that will change everything.
Now, this kind of, you brought up, connectivity, cultivate, but I want to get into connectivity, connecting with others, being able to find your people who align with you. And you mentioned it once in an interview, how connectivity brings others together when, playing a role when leading, and you fill in the blank, whatever you're leading. Why is that important to do?
Business is all about people. And we don't want to make it personal, but we want to make it human. And when we do that, when we connect forces at the micro level, so that's right where we are, and then the more external level, which is partnerships, investors, people in our network, and then lastly, outside in your entire industry, that really macro level, what you've done is really created a force to be reckoned with. And so people are at the center of profit and productivity. And when we really understand the power of those relationships, it is going to be a synergistic effect. So the two of us come together, we both reach a magnitude of people. And when you have your values in alignment because you've thought about them, and now you're tying your strategy, your overarching long-term plan to the day-to-day through the very best people, there is really nothing that you cannot do. There's nothing you cannot transform at this point. There's nothing that you cannot circumvent or overcome. And so when you start to really get simple and make it as easy as possible, you will start to use those relationships to benefit them. And then they will also synergistically help the movement and the cause. And that will always lead to success.
For anybody who's having trouble with, making comments, even I'm struggling, there is my YouTube. So definitely you can find me there. And this show is streaming there. So I don't want you to think you can't. I don't see your comments. I do. I'm going to get back to what Niha just said, but, Mark is like giving you all hand claps. Robert Berry says, we are all leaders in some capacity at home and work. Randy, thank you for joining in. And we have Mark, who is like, yes. And we have Randy saying hi. And Mark, yes, it's true. People buy people, not products, for sure. Yolanda, thank you for joining in. And yes, go over to YouTube if you're having trouble. So we're seeing how people make the company. And I love when people say, well, it's nothing personal, but it's true. It's not personal, but it is personal in some way, because you had to cut a tie. You had to let go of someone. You had to make this work. And even those decisions aren't easy. But I want to get into something that, brings me to, at what point did you, because you were working, you had a 9 to 5, you were working as an executive for academic and in the hospital system. At what point did you realize that you wanted to make a pivot and start helping others develop their leader within them?
That's such a great question. To be honest, it was always the desire. It was when was going to be the best time that was opportune for me, with a lot of moving parts and pieces and moving. But what I think, moving a lot, but what I think was really important for all of us, the message that you're bringing to the center of this conversation right now, to be applauded, is that we don't want to let go of the dream. I remember being in business school very long ago, and I was like, I will be an entrepreneur. It means more to me to, we were talking about earlier, do it my own way, my path, my beat, my drum, my DJ, and really kind of set the stage for the biggest impact that I can make in an organization. And why I love to work with high-level leaders is because they get to trickle down and change and transform and make better the entire culture. When you have a culture that's better, you have people that are happier, and now their communities are better. And so I really thought about, where would all of the development, the mentorship, the business degrees that I have, the management background I have, the way that I view life, where would that have the greatest impact, considering most of the times I was the only person of color in those high-level rooms, those boardrooms, in the CEO's suite, in those offices as the confidant, and I was the youngest in the room. So my plan was really to learn as much as possible, develop those skills, develop the other skills necessary, and then have that experience and make sure then that my dream was fulfilled, never ever letting go or losing sight of that dream for myself. And I really want that for other people.
Okay, guys. So I met Niha back in 2001, and I was like, who is this girl about to marry my cousin? And if she had told me she wanted to be an entrepreneur, I probably would have been like, I think she's a good fit, but she's going to want to do her own beat. And I love it, because it is important. We had to figure out, what is the end game? Like, do we want to work for someone, which is not a bad thing, but some of us have more within us, and sometimes we never want to take that risk. And I heard you talking about risk and being able to, and I know you have a podcast episode, because it's on your podcast, called Brown AF, Brown, Ambitious, and Free. And I don't want to get too much into it, but why do many of us get afraid to take risk?
Such a great question, and so important, because I think one of the definitive characteristics of strong leaders, and I see that Robert's asking, what's a big obstacle facing leaders? And it is this desire to play it safe. And one of the reasons why we do that, it's just not comfortable. There's a physical sensation in our body and in our brains that tells us, man, if I fail, I'm letting down my family, my people, my company. We take on so much just as an individual. So one of the major things I do, it's one of my favorite talks that I give at all sorts of big brands and organizations and MBA programs across the country, is how to handle risk like a boss so that it pays off. So one of the first things we do is we neutralize risk. So risk inherently by definition has a big stigma because it means it will pose a threat. So therefore, what we have to do in the human component, in the intellectual component, and in the strategy component is neutralize the risk. And so we do that by bringing our best people together to understand the problem, the process, the opportunity. And then what we want to do is take action. We want to take action towards it, knowing that there will be challenges. What happens is we get afraid and we stop, or we decide that things are going to be really rosy and super perfect. And then when we run into an obstacle that we didn't think about, brainstorm about, we don't have a protocol to solve it, we're like throw our hands up in the air and then we get freaked out. So knowing that that's a common cycle, people will stay away from risk. But what I like to do with my leaders is to have them consider risky opportunities as a part of their leadership development, as a part of their identity. So then they can also take the necessary steps to bring the right people in at the right time, to evaluate it correctly and plan ahead so that you can understand what your body is going to do, what your brain is going to do, and you just make it the norm. You don't shy away from it, and you still take really powerful 10x action. When you do that over and over again, you just become a baller with new opportunities, and you become the person everybody goes to and everybody trusts. Yes.
Okay. All right. Like here you're talking about you're working with these leaders who are leading a team right now, maybe Fortune 500, Fortune 100. The team is there and you're telling them to take a risk. So let me ask you, are they actually implementing that risk at the time that they're coaching with you?
Yeah, during the time periods that we're doing things, they are really pushing their boundaries. They are shattering their internal limits. The people that I work with are inherently ambitious. And so they know, just like you knew, just like I knew, we were going to do something different. So people that are going to be attracted to me and work with me are going to see these podcast episodes and titles and be like, who's talking about that? That's a little bit different. This isn't just about create your plan, execute it, have a to-do list, check it off. Like I'm not your person. If you really want to shatter those ceilings, internal or external, and you really want to go after something big, but you're scared, people will be drawn to that message. And in those periods of time, as we chip away from the things that scare us, from the cycles that stop us, they are more and more bold to say the thing, to do the thing, to make the presentation, to gain what you do, visibility, access to visibility, and their greatest strength. So it brings us back on the dance floor. We are in our greatest strength with the spotlight, the strobe light, the microphone, all the things, and people are drawn to us. So it becomes a really powerful, fulfilling cycle. And so that's why my clients are taking those risks. And after a while, they don't see them as risks anymore. They see them as opportunities and challenges, and they have better steps and tools and techniques and really the skill set to mitigate, neutralize, and take action.
I really want to, it gets me thinking like, okay, here is this person, they're actually leading the team and they're like, okay, I'm going to step it out and I'm going to do this action because as Yolanda says, fear can paralyze us, preventing us from taking risks, which is true because the moment that you step out, then and you said it in a podcast episode, Niha, you said our brain, what it wants to do is protect us. But we know that if we stay where we are, like Robert is saying, there's no reward without risk.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. We have to evaluate risks, not run for them. And so what would be a tip for somebody who's going into this year saying, you know what, I'm going to take risks? What should they keep in mind?
They should keep in mind that they are going to get scared. And they are going to maybe feel like they're going to be nauseated or vomit at times. And that does not mean that you shouldn't do it. You know, it doesn't mean that you should hold back, like, oh, my body is giving me a message, I should react. No, what your body is doing is acting like a human body that is not used to stretching in this way. And what we want to then do is have a lot of compassion, understanding for that, and listen to the message that the body is giving us, but then continue to work on the plan. So that's the perfect time to reach out to somebody who knows what they're doing, to get a coach, to ask for help, or to go to your people, the ones that look at you and they know that you're meant for greatness. And they'll be like, no, 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 of course, no, you're great at XYZ. And then get really specific. Have them and yourself get very granular about what you are great at, because naturally that's going to take your barometer and your interest and your psychology to a higher level. You'll be accessing those executive level strategic thoughts. You'll get back in the zone and you'll keep taking action. So that would be your risk protocol. And then you get closer and closer to your goal. It's all about the progress. And if you're not quitting, you will get closer and closer and closer. And that's the goal.
Always ask for help if you need it. Be sharing, be willing to share knowledge if asked. And that's true. You will be surprised as you want to elevate yourself, take that risk. The right people are going to be placed in your path to help you, which brings me to this question. I really want to make sure, what are the services that you provide? And, how can we get in touch with you if we're ready?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that even if you think you're ready, you should reach out and have a conversation. There's no loss in that. And what I do is I work one-on-one with private clients, because a lot of times these executives, CEOs, maybe they have a reason to be private. They want to make a transition into a different role, or they just don't want everybody to know. So there is that elite privacy that I provide. And then also I do group coaching for organizations, for teams, so that you get in alignment, you get on the same page, and you have accountability using metrics. Once you have that scorecard and that dashboard neutralizing conversations, so you have powerful conversations, even if they are riddled with conflict, the conflict goes down, the clarity goes up, and then you're working towards a synergistic goal. So if you reach out to me at niha@nihacoaching.com or nihacoaching.com, or on Instagram, or any of those places, DM me, send me a message. We'll talk about what you are facing, what you're hoping to accomplish, and how we can get you there as quickly and more simply as possible.
I've dropped those links in the comments, so you can definitely find her. Also, her name is highlighted in blue, so you can connect. I want to give a shout out to Mark. He's really great at connecting folks. He's also a social media manager. He works with Jordan. They actually have a show that happens in the afternoon. So definitely connect. If you're not connected with anybody in the comments, make a friend. This is what we're here for. And also connect with my cousin. She's actually awesome. I've known her, 22 years?
Yeah.
I mean, she's married to my cousin, but still, we're family. We're family. We're one. Our kids are super close.
Yeah.
So before we end and go to Instagram, I do want people to know about your podcast, Brown AF, Ambitious and Fire. No, I'm just kidding. Ambitious and Free.
Insert all the letters. We good with it.
You know what? Yes, Randy. Familia. Yes. Ambitious and Familia.
So good.
So can you kind of tell us a little bit about the podcast and, what can we expect when we tune in?
Yeah, with the podcast, how I like to think about it was really taking you through my client's journey. So I launched with 10 episodes. I thought really hard about what episodes are most important to take you from A to Z. and give you the foundational steps that I charge my clients for. I wanted to provide it as a gift to the world, all the nooks and crevices all over the world, so people, wherever they are listening, can bring their dreams to reality. And then after that, I really start to elevate what I think are signature, required, essential executive skills that you have to have. So you break down your limitations yourself, and you can go out and achieve what you have in store for yourself and get those steps one by one.
And there you have it. You can connect with her if you're still like, I don't know about her. I mean, I know she says, she brings on great guests. She says she's family. You still want to check her out. You can find her on Instagram, here on LinkedIn, here. I've also dropped her website. Check out her whole podcast episode and see how it resonates, because you know what? You can sit and do nothing, or you can sit and take action. And if you really want to push the needle, I've learned this year, when you exchange monies, even though it can be scary, you actually become serious about what you want to do. Plus, I want you guys to know that all these episodes that you see, Journey of an Entrepreneur, the ones that I started 4 years ago, and even today, I keep posting them on my own podcast, Adventure of an Entrepreneur. I dropped those links. I would love for your support when you can leave a review, or just post it on social media, because I want to get your word out. I mean, many of you have been a guest. If you've not been a guest and would like to be a guest, just reach out to me, because I would love to share your story like I am with my cousin. I remember when I asked her to be on my show, and she said no at first. She was like, I'll think about it.
No, I didn't. Did I? No
Yes.
way. I was probably scared. I can't imagine. I would say you, honestly, one of the best interviewers I have been interviewed by.
She's not saying that because we're family.
I'm not. I was going to text you privately and like the whole family chat. And I say what's real. I really do. And I'm so impressed.
Yeah, my mom looks forward to, like, whenever she calls or she sends flowers and cards. Like, now you guys are hearing the real story. Like, this is how it really is. We have a group chat, the family, everybody sends everything. And my mom was like, in capital letters, "We love you." Yes, it's really like this. This is what happens when you have family. Louisiana. Oh, so you're moving closer and you're going to Louisiana. Okay. And how much? Oh, Randy, it didn't cost me anything. She just said it because she.
I did. I did. This has just been so much fun. You are on your toes. You did a lot of research, which I would not have expected that you needed to do, but it's very evident that you did. It's really cool.
It's real funny. If anybody comes on my show, if you ask me what are the questions, I always give in my email that I send out, that's like 10 pages long. And I put that I will only ask about you. And I do give a description of who comes and joins. You guys are the reason why this show has been going on for 4 years. And I try to ask questions that might be relevant. Like, I think about where I am in my journey, and many times many of you feel the same way, or if it's not, you ask the question. But if I haven't covered that question that the guest is on, and you want to learn more, just reach out to them, say you saw them here. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to invite you to come on over to Instagram to join us, where we're going to continue this conversation. And again, if you are not connected with someone on here today, whether you're catching the replay or you're live right now, connect with someone you don't know, because this is what we're all about. And until my next live, which is maybe next week with a workshop, you just have to, I'm keeping you on your toes. You never know who I'll bring on. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and bye.